everyone. My name is Serhii and I'm a staff engineer at Grammarly. Bear with me, today I'm going to be talking about AI and stuff, but you already got used to it. But we did it a long time before it became a hype, so I can allow it to myself. And for those of you who don't know, Grammarly is an AI-powered writing assistant that works on desktop and mobile and helps you to communicate effectively through clear and personalized communication. But today's talk is not about like a Grammarly as a company, but about the engineering platform team that helps our developers to make Grammarly better and to help you all communicate better. The mission of Grammarly platform is to help engineers to own their services with minimum burden caused by infrastructure, platform tooling, day-to-day operations, so to focus on code. And the scale is quite significant. We have more than 500 engineers working on hundreds of backend services across hundreds of repositories. All this stuff is deployed on more than like 14,000 server nodes. And our CI/CD system runs around 6,000 CI/CD pipelines daily. And our monitoring system withholds about 20 million requests per second to help all engineering organizations keep an eye on all Grammarly services, backend, front-end, everything. However, the core challenge is not about the scale or the toolings or like CI/CD. The core challenge is about finding this sort of balance between developer autonomy and standardization. Because on the one hand, who knows better than developers what the project technical needs are? Like if developer team owns their services end to end, they can make it super cool, super scalable, super everything. On the other hand, this doesn't quite scale because developers are overwhelmed by maintenance tasks and a lot of other tasks, and they spend less time on coding and innovating. So this is about this you build it, you run it, or you build it, you own it principle. And even without a comprehensive strategy or understanding what should we do back in 2020, we realized that our understanding of you build it, you run it needed sort of fresh look. And I'm going to talk about the rest of the presentation, how we change this. So we understood that we need to change, right? And we sort of formalized 4 key principles, I would say, or 4 pillars that we need to withhold and everything. So unified developer experience, to minimize the steps required for developers to accomplish their tasks. Then there is standardized implementation, like standardized templates and patterns. The industry also calls it golden path, the way that you create new services, do stuff like in a paved road thing, sort of this. Self-service and abstracted infrastructure. Again, to spend less time on infra stuff and more time on coding because of automations, developer portals, self-service, stuff like this. And last but not least, technical compliance. Because when we have everything up and running, when we create stuff and everything, we also need to make sure that it corresponds to our standards and remains as we want it to be. So the other name for this is maintaining the golden state. I don't know why industry use gold for this, but whatever. Gold is money, maybe. So, but before exploring this sort of evolution in detail, the path we move to here, let me quickly give you this understanding of what we get as of today. So, engineering onboarding time now takes just like a week instead of 4 weeks, and self-service tooling for the platform has decreased request times for a lot of tasks from days to hours, especially for backbone provisioning and stuff like this. Templated project creation, like golden passes for Java or Python, reduced bootstrapping for projects from hours to minutes. Just imagine that you can just click some buttons and you have boilerplates and everything. I'll tell you more later. implementation of AI coding tools and code search stuff, AI, saved approximately 200 engineering hours daily across engineering organization. That's a lot. But not only this, because organization itself also gained a lot of cool wins here, such as automated operating system security patches reduces our patch cycle time for the whole fleet, like from a month just for a few days. And this and all other security implementations we did helped us win a lot of important security certifications to sell better for enterprises. So altogether, this evolution has transformed our engineering platform from a support role to something that actually valued as an important asset by our leadership. And now closer to our journey. So I will be covering the last 5 years. Actually, Grammarly is 16 years old, and engineering platform is about 12 years or so. But today, I will be speaking about the story of the last 5 years. So we will be going through 2021, when we started to see the need for change. Then 2022, when we did some foundational architectural changes. Then 23, it was a year of developer experience, I would say. And then 24, where we faced sort of familiar yet a sudden challenge. And we had to rethink completely how the platform is built, how it operates. And landing in 25, as we know, with stuff we have now and forward plans. But before we dive to this, let's actually zoom back to 2020 to see where we started. So in 2020, you see it. In 2020, the ownership model of this "you build it, you run it" was looking like this. Developer teams was maintaining comprehensive ownership around their services. CI/CD, code, infrastructure, observability, monitoring, logging, all the stuff. Platform team also existed and provided fundamental tooling like CI/CD systems, observability systems, backbone architecture, network, clusters, things like this. And this operational model worked fine back then because Grammarly was smaller and maybe, which is even more important, the market was different, at least for our niche. I guess for the whole industry, developer teams could afford to spend more time on infrastructure and stuff. But we started to see some signs of something goes wrong with this because it wouldn't scale nicely with companies' goals and ambitious growing we had in mind. So we started to explore, and our core initiatives in 2021 were directed toward the onboarding and observability stuff. So we identified that it took about 4 weeks for an engineer to be onboarded, like for a newcomer, to get well onboarded onto the project and everything. I experienced this myself. I joined Grammarly in November 2020, and it took me like 10 meetings with different engineers just to get familiar with the stuff we have. That's too much. So that clearly wouldn't scale. Therefore, Therefore, we implemented several solutions here. First of all, the thing called Platform University. So this is the set of tutorials, like text-based with tasks and everything, aimed to let engineers understand on practice what they should do, how it works, and everything. And this reduced onboarding drastically. The second thing is the infra self-service, because again, like provisioning an AWS account for a new service took a lot of time. And so we had to automate this stuff, and we did, reducing this provision from like a couple of days to just a couple of hours or something. And service catalog, another cool thing we did, we used a tool called Cortex, if any of you are familiar with that. So basically, it's a place where you can put all the information about your backend services, libraries, whatever, and have the owners, the connections between them, dependencies, all the stuff. This helps a lot because first, it helps you navigate just the organization better, but especially it helps a lot when it's about finding what's going wrong, when you have some on-call alert or something like this. Yeah. So altogether, these like lowered the barriers for developers and put some sort of foundation for further platform development. But of course, that was just the beginning, because next year we realized that yeah, okay, we have all that, but the infrastructure was still super complex actually for developers, and they had self-services. They could provision accounts, they could provision some stuff, networks, that's nice. But still, even with this, they spend disproportionate amount of time for managing the platform, managing the infra. Because when you create a project, for example, when you bootstrap a new project, you need not just like AWS account, you also need code base, you need CI/CD setup, you need some Docker files, you need some alerting configuration, logging, you know, all the stuff. And you spend a lot of time on that, right? So it drains your time, and we had to do something with that. So we focused on abstraction as much as we could, and we focused on like things, for example, like a golden path, as I already mentioned. So for abstraction way is that, yeah, we had Terraform, we had like a lot of automations around Terraform and everything to manage the infra, but we put as much as we could back then behind self-service portals using Jira help desk, and to provision not only the backbone infra, but also service-to-service communication, or setting up CI/CD for existing projects, for example, or new projects, or whatsoever. We also focused on, as I was saying, golden path. So for golden path, again, this is, for example, for Java and Python projects that we heavily use, it's a code boilerplates, it's a CI/CD configurations, it's a Docker files, all these things. So using Cortex and its web interface, so we had to be a little bit of web designers, something like this, not so good, but still, it was usable. And yeah, you could, and still can actually, our engineers can bootstrap their project just like in minutes, which is really cool and saves a lot of time for them. We also had to rethink how our CI/CD infrastructure is built. And we completely redesigned it and basically allocated the whole CI resources in one account instead of multiple accounts, and connected it with all other accounts, properly aligning with security and network policies. So CI provision time reduced drastically, because we also put a lot of custom logic on top of that for provisioning and for bootstrapping new projects with CI configs, with CI runners included, and stuff like this. Nice. So in 2023, though, it was all everything good and nice, but we still saw that it could be even better. And we saw that many teams use sort of inconsistent tooling, because this team uses something for deployment, this team uses something else for deployment. It works on our CI/CD platform, yeah, but it's different, and it's not so easy to jump from a project to a project, because sometimes it's necessary, quite often actually, and to contribute to somebody. Yeah, so we tried to solve this. And the way we tried to solve this was our sort of shared responsibility model. So we welcome developer teams to help us build platform tooling with us and put their domain expertise to and merge it with our expertise of platform stuff and their expertise. This especially was handful like in things like Golden Path, because when it's about code boilerplates and templates and everything, that helps really well. So then, yeah, nice. So then it resulted in our next project, which we called LLM Proxy. In 2023, it was like a key initiative for the whole platform to enable developer teams integrate LLM features, providers, tooling, because we use not only like external providers, we have a lot of internal LLM stuff, including our own models. So to help developers integrate all that to their projects like in a day instead of days or maybe even weeks. So also, we integrated AI coding assistant and code search, things like GitHub Copilot or Source Graph, to just speed up the way how developers do the daily routines, searching repositories, writing some code, you know, all the stuff. And we also enable things, for example, like automated security patches for our repositories. Because, again, when security team finds that, hey, there is a vulnerability in the code, and you need to fix this, this is nice, but you need to fix this, right? You need to spend some time. But there are tools on the market, plenty of them. For example, we used Renovate, and of course, put some extra logic on top of this to orchestrate. But in a nutshell, it's now when there is a security patch for your source code, this tool creates a pull request, and if CI test passes, the pull request is merged automatically without you even to check in and see how it works. It requires properly set up like tests and everything if you don't want anything to be broken, but it's a different topic, of course. Now, going further, 2024, we sort of faced familiar but sudden problem because a company was scaling heavily and fast, and it, like a platform team and all our cool tooling and everything became a bottleneck. Because we had to deal with like more teams, more projects, more complex use cases than ever before. And our centralized process struggled to keep pace with all these cross-team or parallel collaborations, like many teams, many developers, everything. We realized that we cannot solve this by just adding more self-services, or more AI tool or whatever. We did actually, but still it's a bit different. So the whole concept should have been changed. And we needed fundamental change. Again, not for just tooling, but also for the team and how it works. So what we did, we started this re-platform project. And fun fact here, it actually started from a proof of concept project for a small team. I also was a part of it. We tried to set up Grammarly in Kubernetes to make it portable, like Grammarly backend, because it's nice to have something portable. Yeah, and so we did. And then we realized, hey, this actually can be scaled, and Kubernetes became the foundation of the technical changes. But of course, not only one tool, which is a massive tool, of course, but still, it's just a tool. So the core thing is that we had several key changes in terms of infrastructure and developer experience. So for infrastructure, we got service mesh to simplify and streamline service-to-service communication and fortify the security of this communication. We got uniform configurations for auto-scaling and deployments, because again, when everything is managed by Kubernetes platform or similar, you can sort of do things in one way across the whole engineering org. And this unified foundation also allowed us, because Grammarly now sort of portable, we can sell better because some enterprises require on-premise installations. They say, hey, we trust you, but we trust ourselves more, so please host Grammarly in our cloud. Now it's possible. And finally, with tools like Carpenter or Cloud Zero, we got ourselves predictable resource allocation and super clear visibility around the prices and how much do we spend on all the cloud cost. Of course, we had a lot of developer experience gains here. So, for example, standardized deployments, right? So the way that we do deployments now is that there is a special set of toolings based on Argo CD and stuff that deploy services in a canary way with, of course, configurable measures, how much to deploy first, second, and everything. So all this happens seamlessly, and which is more important, it's not the developer teams who manage this. It's a platform team who does it for them. They have interface to configure this for their service specifically, but the core thing is managed by us. Then there is internal developer, we call it DevX ecosystem. So basically, we are integrating a lot of internal and, of course, external tools all together to make this DevX ecosystem. For instance, we have a service called HackerMango, which is used like this. So when the pull request is created, it automatically finds and assigns a reviewer, a proper reviewer, not just a random people, for this pull request. It's a small change, but on scale of whole organization, it's a massive gain because it saves a lot of time. And for some project, it reduces the time for a merge request, for pull request to be merged, from hours to just minutes. So sort of game changer from a small thing. And of course, there is ephemeral environments as well. So this is a thing also related to pull request. Then when you have a pull request and you have this code change you want to deploy, you want to test it somehow. Probably you won't. And these ephemeral environments allows you to host your code change separately from the rest, but also add dependencies of your service, like other services at Grammarly, in a way that it doesn't block owners of these dependencies or your teammates from doing their work. So basically, you have this isolated environment with all the stuff needed for your service to test, run tests, integration, end-to-end whatsoever. Things like this. And of course, we also spend a lot of time on monitoring and analyzing productivity metrics. We use the tool called DX, which allows us to integrate Slack, GitLab, deployment system, all together in one centralized, sort of dashboards and panels and everything, where we can see how all the things is running and allow us make informed numbers-based decisions on what to work next instead of just guessing. So ownership model now looks like this. Developer teams still own their services, but it's less of platform and infra stuff. We took away a lot of infrastructure and process management from them. We use opinionated ways of doing things. This doesn't mean that we do not teams to experiment. They can go off-road and do the way they want, but they don't do it too often because generally it's easier to use this paved road and just make it faster to deploy or something. However, as I was saying earlier, this also transforms the way how our platform team works and looks like. Because before that, we had one team, but now we have three with different areas of responsibility. So there is a developer experience team, and their core meaning is this toolbox that developers touch every day. IDs, service inventory, golden path templates, all this stuff. So basically, make a happy path from idea to a pull request. So then, when pull request gets into the CI/CD system, this is where a release engineering team steps in, and they own the whole CI/CD stack: GitLab, artifacts management, deployments, releases, all these things. Their goal to make the deployments uniform and fast and stable. When deployment is green in production, production engineering team steps in. And the goal of this team is to make operations reliable and as less stressful as possible by provisioning core infrastructure, clusters, auto-scaling, all these things. So production engineering team then reports its metrics from SLO breaches or something else, basically all the way how your services are operating, back to developer experience team and their dashboard for developers, and this kind of closes the loop of this whole uniform idea of managing platform. Now, a few of success factors and challenges we've had. So we learned that co-designing with developers is super important, and treating platform as a product also helps a lot. So basically, we involve developers to design solutions with them, for them. And we use internal surveys, we use internal researches, we use sort of even marketing campaigns internally because what we produce is a product, but for small amount of people, actually maybe not so small, about 500 anyway. So it's a product we create. And we also learned that over-communication is a key. Because it's better to be super fluidy in Slack and meetings and everything to make sure that all engineering teams know what you're bringing to them, what you're giving to them, or what you're changing maybe, instead of just humble small announcements, here and there. And of course, we learned that it's better to start sooner than later. But what I mean is that some bold decision might be frightening and you may say, hey, it requires a lot of efforts and time to implement, yes, but they often outweigh all the small incremental changes. So also another learning from us. talking about our future plans. So now we are concentrated around this idea of developer portal. Basically, the way to so infrastructure and platform should melt even farther, like step farther on the background for developers, allowing them to not lose the focus on daily tasks. Things like Backstage, products like Backstage or early mentioned Cortex, we're inspired by these products and use some of them. But the idea is to make this portal when developer teams can see their services status, cost, CI pipeline statuses, bootstrap new services, like all at one place, just to stay in the zone and not to lose focus on all other stuff. In the end, what this means for you, for different roles in this auditory. For platform engineers, for developers, champion developer experience. Analyze what your customers are using, make weekly meetings to find the pain points or bottlenecks, prioritize them for your work. For managers and leads, embrace platform as a product because it helps you to deliver faster in a more reliable and sometimes even cheaper way. And then for product managers, cooperate with your platform and engineering teams. Explain them how product vision, how you can help them understand how to make company more successful and help promote their own products they create throughout the company and make them better. So thank you for your attention, and I'll be glad to answer any questions if you have. Thank you.
Serhii, absolutely amazing. And an area that's very, very close to my heart, actually. I cut my teeth. My first UX research role was in a team we called Engineering Productivity, but it was in Platform as a Product. So this is like coming home seeing this talk. Lovely stuff. We've got a bunch of questions online, which is great. So obviously, Grammarly, huge scale, big team. What is your advice to smaller dev teams and trying to create this platform as a product approach?
Oh, yes, that's nice. So I would say don't over-engineer at first. And if you see that you have a dev team that sort of needs support, allocate somebody to be this foundational platform engineer and ask that person to work closely with the team to identify at least the top one pain point. Solve this and just move gradually. And that would be my first advice here.
Small and go. Yeah, I love it. A competition question, less about the platform stack, but ChatGPT fixing grammars. Do you see that as a threat to Grammarly? Is that something you guys are worried about?
Oh, well, I mean, obviously it's a competitor, but it's not sort of replacement, I would say. Yeah, I mean, I'm from Grammarly, of course I can say this, but the point is that if you use ChatGPT, you can see that it's sort of complicated to make it produce text in a way that you sound. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. Maybe it's about prompt engineering, I don't know, but I use it a lot. It does job well, but Grammarly feature, the main feature, I guess, one of the main features, is that it actually learns how you type, learns how you express yourself, and can create the similar sounding text. If that's important to you, so it's nice. If not, well, also nice. But this is the difference, I would say.
Yeah, ChatGPT is a fairly holistic thing as well, right? Like it does an awful lot of stuff. Grammarly is a very targeted tool to do specifically that. So always ask the experts, everyone. I promise this isn't a question I put down in the hope of getting a contract with you later, but did you in any way involve UX designers, UX researchers in improving developer experience as you moved to platform as a product?
Oh, yes. For this self-services and web we created for Cortex, because, so long story short, yes, we do. Not as much as we could, though, because they have a lot of tasks to be done, but depends on the OKRs, priorities, and everything. We try a lot to involve web designers, web developers to help us create interfaces for other developers, because we are not super cool in web coding, unfortunately. We're cool in other stuff, but yeah.
Nice. I like it. Great question here about metrics. I actually think the number of metrics you put up about the change in onboarding was phenomenally impressive. Like shifting those numbers down to get people onto the platform and onto and up and running as devs was absolutely amazing. Quick question here. What other examples do you have of productivity metrics you use beyond just onboarding, and how are you balancing productivity versus the outcome?
So in terms of metrics, for starters, like just standard DORA things. Okay, you measure time for merge request to be merged to master branch. You measure things like how long does it take for actually pull request to be reviewed, or things like this, and a lot of things. Like from then you measure also like resolution time of the incidents or deployment frequency. It doesn't much matter like what you merge. It's more about why, or sorry, what you track. It's more about why you track this, because we have like a lot of metrics available in this tool I mentioned, DX. We also use custom ones, but we sort of balance between standardized metrics for all and then like fine-grained, tailor it for the teams, and also allow these teams to contribute to our like metrics code base and configurations, so to make it like for them easier to use. So that would be my answer probably.
That's a brilliant way to finish things. Fantastic. Thank you so much
Thank
for your time.
You.
Everyone, huge round of applause again for Serhii.
Thank you.